What is up YouTube and welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Mandarin Metal and today we are on F1 23. We're changing it up. We're going to start uploading 2 videos a week because we want to finish this championship before the next game comes out. So we need to up the content and yeah, that's it. Now for today's race we are going to Azerbaijan. As you can see, there is a massive gap between race 3 and race 4. We are slapping every single activity into our calendar, making sure we get the most out of the few days. And then we're going to have a look at some upgrades, what we can put onto the car to help us be more competitive. Is it going to bring us closer to the front? And yeah, that is just because of this massive gap between the 2 races. Now, obviously we're focusing on our chassis. This upgrade failed in the last episode, so hopefully it doesn't fail again. Otherwise, we're going to be in shambles. And then now we're looking at upgrading our aerodynamics, and there are 3 major upgrades that we can do. I'm not sure which one we should put on the car. And now I'm just looking through each upgrade. I also do a recommendation, and they recommend upgrading the gearbox durability. Reliability, but I don't want to do that. I want to focus on more of our aerodynamics and our chassis, and then also looking at upgrading our engine at some point because we want to be competitive. Now we can either go for drag reduction or we can go for rear downforce, and I thought maybe going to Baku we could actually add on some rear downforce. As you can see as well, upgrading this, we get it on the 27th of April, just before the race, so it's cutting it quite fine. If it fails, we do not have any significant upgrades. Now, we did upgrade some reliability in the last episode. We're waiting to see if our chassis gets upgraded, and it does, which is perfect. Then also, coming up to the weekend, in 10 days, we are going to see if we can get our halo, and then I get hit with a nice little rival. I get a potential rival opportunity. Now we've got 3 options: Ocon, Gasly and Fernando Alonso. I didn't want to go for the 2-time world champion, and I think Ocon might be a little bit too easy, so I went straight in the middle. We took Pierre Gasly as our rival, and with this we can earn more acclaim at the end of our rivalry. We have, I think, 30 points, and then we get our rivalry. This weekend we have a new format. The way it works is we've got practice 1, we've got qualifying, then we've got practice 2, we've got the sprint race, and then we've got the race. Now, throughout the year, or throughout the season of F1 that we have, we're going to have about 6 sprint races, if I remember correctly. And this is going to be the structure for each weekend. We can score points on we can score points in the sprint race, and we can score points in the race. Again, this is going to count towards both the Constructors and the Drivers' Championship. So they're both very important. Now for quali, when we do qualifying, we qualify for the sprint race, and whatever position we finish off in the sprint race, we will start in the actual race on the Sunday. This is the structure that we will be following. I know they've changed it, but in this game, this is how we're doing it at the moment. Now, going onto track, we are just doing some runs on our track acclimatization, trying to get used to the track, but honestly, it was difficult. I was struggling throughout practice 1, and I just couldn't get the car to respond how I wanted it to. As you can see, I'm down in 16th. I've set a 146.5. I'm 1.5 seconds off the pace, and it's not very good going into quali. And I was actually quite nervous because I just couldn't get the car to respond. It felt like I was driving on ice. The car felt heavy, and I had a lot of wheel spin, I had a lot of oversteer, and I was sliding around. And I just didn't know what to do. I was really baffled at this point, thinking, what do I do? How can I fix it? So I was just changing a couple things. I tweaked the setup a little bit. I added more to the wings, hoping this would help. I tried to add more rear stability, front stability, but again, it didn't seem to help. So I don't know if it was just me. Maybe I was just not driving to the best of my ability. But now, going into quali, again, stressing because I don't know if we were going to be able to do a great lap. Now, let's ride on board for qualifying. We've got this nice little long straight we've got a nice long straight here. And I've kind of cut my ERS deployment because I want to save as much as I can for the whole lap. We're up into 8th gear, DRS is wide open, back into hot lap, and we are going to start our flying lap. Now, heavy braking zone over here, make sure you don't hit the wall. This is a tight circuit, being a street circuit, and you need to be pinpoint, especially in sector 2 when you get through the castle section. DRS wide open on this little straight. I'm deploying as much energy as I can, and then I've skipped through the castle section, and I've just skipped through sector 2, and we are on the final sector of the lap. Where is it going to put us? We're currently putting in a 142, and when I cross the line, it's a 145.2, and where does it put us? That puts us P3 at the moment, but Lewis Hamilton just put in a 143.5. Wow. And that is an amazing lap. 1.6 seconds off the pace in Q1. I do not know where I'm going to find the pace to match that. I have to go out again. Otherwise, I'm out in Q1. Now, going into the end of our lap in Q1, we are a second up on our time, which is going to be very, very useful. Where does it put us? We are currently, again, 1 second up, and we cross the finish line, and we are 5th. Wow. When it matters, it does. So we are now 144.1, 7/10 off the pace. Again, it's not looking good for the race. Where are we going to end up? Now let's remember the 141. I put in a banker time for my first lap. This is quite a long lap, so that's why we are just trying to get through it as much as possible. The banker lap wasn't too good, and we are now going on to our second attempt. 3/10 up just after the first 2 corners, back onto this straight, and we're up into 8th gear, DRS wide open, heavy braking zone. Take this nicely, don't lock your steering wheel. Again, you're going to have another heavy braking zone here, almost 1 second up. Again, I hit the curb there, so I lose a little bit of time. And then this is where I seem to crumble. It's just in the second sector. I cannot nail it, but 1 second up on my time. And this is the castle section that I told you about. It is very, very rewarding when you get this right, but it is so tight. You have to be clinical. I don't hit any barrier. It looks good, but again, I have a bit of snap oversteer there. I'm 1.4 seconds up on my previous best. Running very, very nicely at the moment. And I'm still down in P15, so I need to nail this. Again, this section as well, almost touched the wall there, but you don't. It's very, very difficult to break there. And then now starting the final sector. Now 1.5 seconds up, 1.6 seconds, 1.7 seconds up on our previous best. This is looking like an amazing lap. Surely this is going to get us out of qualifying. Surely we are able to do an amazing job. We're almost 2 seconds up of our previous best. It's a 146.6. Our last best is a 144.6. It only puts me P13. Not a chance. I thought that was an amazing lap. It can't even match my Q1 lap time of a 144.1. I'm 5/10 slower than my previous best. I tried going for another run on this lap, but I just couldn't match it. My tires were finished, and it's looking like an uphill battle for this race. It's just another heartbreaking weekend. We couldn't match our previous best times out in Q2, and we are looking quite vulnerable for this race. And this is a difficult track. I mean, I wasn't doing great in practice, didn't do great in quali. The race and the sprint are gonna be, I honestly think, being a street circuit, it is quite difficult. It's nice and it's very narrow. And I think that's where my issue was. So let's have a look at our starting grid.
See how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position with Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Hamilton, Norris, Sainz, Perez, Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Gasly, Albon, Stroll, Ocon, Bottas, Iceman, Joe, Hulkenberg, Tsunoda, Fittipaldi, Ricciardo, Magnussen, and Logan Sargent. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
And that is the starting grid for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. We have 9 laps, everyone is on medium, and it's 4 lights, 5 lights, and away we go for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I'm running in P15, I go down the outside around 5 cars. I'm up into 10th place after our start. I had a little contact with Stroll, but it's okay. And now going into Albon, I dive down the inside. He was going a little slow, and we squeeze each other, or I squeeze him, almost taking each other out. And I am up into 9th. What a start in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Clinical. And now Albon is fighting back, and he's diving down the inside. But we almost hit the wall, and we could have been out of the race. But we saved it. Now, I mess up this corner. I went in too deep. My braking was off, and I'm using as much overtake as I can in these sections. And let's have a look at the rest of our lap. Norris and Piastri are already 2.8 seconds, 2.3 seconds up the road for me. And it is looking like they might just run away, and I will not be able to catch them. Alonso now behind me. He's within a second. And this castle section, again, this was where I was struggling and losing a lot of time. I think I was losing like 5/10 in that section because I just couldn't keep it under control. I was just not having a good time there. Now braking hard here. Don't go in too deep, otherwise you're going to go into the wall. And up into overtake. Again, just trying to get a good exit over here. Onto the back straight here. And we are now 2.7 seconds behind Piastri, and Alonso is right on our tail. Up into 8th gear. This is a very, very long straight. It is 2.2 kilometers long, and we can feel it. At this point, I'm thinking I have to save as much ERS for these long back straights, because they're gonna nail me every time they get DRS for half of that duration. And now you can see on lap 6, nothing much was happening in the race, but lap 6 I started messing up a lot, and this meant Alonso was right on my tail. And I thought, now the back straight coming up, let's let Alonso through, and I can get a nice helping of DRS, and I can keep with him, and he can push me forward like we did in the last race in Australia. We kept with him, and then eventually we overtook him to secure our spot. But with all my struggles and the things I was going through in this lap, not nailing the corners, you can see he just started clawing away from me. I almost had a corner cutting warning there, and into this castle section, this is where you're going to see where I lose all my time. And there he goes, 1 second, and I claw a little bit of time back, but again, there we go. He is 1 second ahead of me. This means I am out of DRS range. And there he is 1.8 seconds on lap 9. And Hulkenberg is right on my tail. I have a little contact with the wall. Luckily, it doesn't put me out of the race because it was light contact, it was just a wheel. After such a good start, we ended up P10, which is alright because this is gonna help us get a good qualifying position for the race. Max Verstappen wins the sprint race in Azerbaijan, and where will we come up? Hulkenberg is right on my tail, and at this point I'm going to use my overtake button, just fending him off. I don't want him to take this last spot for top 10. Not that it counts for points, but it does help us in the race tomorrow. And I mean, we can be happy with a P10 finish. This is going to be good for our race, but not good for any morale in the team or as a driver. There is our classification. Max Verstappen wins with Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton finishing off the podium spots. Now you can see they go from 8 points to 1 point, being Piastri. I was hoping we could secure some sort of points, but we didn't. Fittipaldi, he did quite well. He ended up P14, and he's coming on quite nicely. I'm just trying to build him and encourage him to be more of a factor in this constructors. Yeah. So guys, let's have a look at our race.
Runoff zones, many are expecting a safety car here today, so our drivers will have to stay very much on their toes and hopefully out of the barriers. Baku City Circuit then. It's an unpredictable 3.7-mile track around the streets of the Azerbaijan capital. 20 turns for our drivers to navigate today, including the infamous Turn 8, one of the tightest and most challenging corners of the season. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Perez, Russell, Norris, Sainz, Oscar Piastri, Fernando Alonso, Iceman, Hulkenberg, Stroll, Ocon, Fittipaldi, Albon, Joe, Tsunoda, Bottas, Ricciardo, Gasly, Magnussen and Logan Sargent. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
And there it is, the grid for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It is 5 lights and away we go, starting off this race. Everyone around me is on softs. We get an amazing launch off the line, and around the outside of 2 cars, 3 cars, and there's a little bit of contact with Sainz. Again, he thinks we're playing bumper cars, but we managed to secure and hold on, and there Piastri's on the inside, and he has a little contact with the wall. At least no one is out of the race. We always have such an amazing start. We need to convert our starts into more of an aggressive attack, because once we get a good start, we are just not able to keep up with these guys. We aren't able to hold on to the lead. Now let's ride on board for the first lap. Carlos Sainz is 9/10 in front of me and Piastri is 6/10 behind me. He is on the medium, so he is thinking of the long game, and we can see Norris is on the hard. So there's a big mix-up in strategy, and this is going to play a factor in this Grand Prix. Who gets it right, and whoever nails the strategy is going to win this Grand Prix. Now, we can see Carlos Sainz is 1 second ahead of me, and I just cannot keep with him. The Ferrari is too quick for me. I'm just not able. I thought these upgrades that I brought for the weekend would have at least helped me in the fight, pushing me up the order, but it doesn't. It actually feels like it is a massive mistake, because we have zero, we can't see the results of these upgrades. There's literally nothing I can see, and I don't see how these upgrades are supposed to be good. Piastri right on my tail, but at least I fend him off. Now going on to lap 5, Piastri had boxed and we get a virtual safety car. I slowed down, I was going a little too fast, and I just got some warnings. Now it turned into a full-fledged safety car, and we're on the soft tires on lap 5. Do we dive into the pit lane? Should we go into the pit lane, or do we stay out? This is the question that I have. And what is it? We are gonna stay out, because I fake a little inside. No, we're gonna stay out, and I'm thinking that we can save a little bit of tires behind the safety car. The guys behind me are gonna stop anyway, so maybe we can turn it into a one-stopper. If we can go long, we can get good track position, we can put on a new set of tires, and then again pushing it out. End of lap 7, we are underway, the safety car's in, I see Lewis Hamilton diving into the pits, and have I made a mistake? But it's okay. We'll go. Caution. There's something behind us. Something's going on. Maybe there's a little bit of contact. Norris and Russell just ahead of me. And it is Perez on my tail. Up into overtake. Trying to secure this last podium spot here. But this Red Bull is too quick. And there's a little bit of contact with Perez. Perez has hit me. And then he's hit Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz is out of the race. It's been a red flag. No overtaking. And I am actually shocked at what just happened. Perez saw a gap that just wasn't there, and he's now taken out a car. Lap 10, we start again, and we're on medium tires. Will this be our downfall, or will this make us the hero? An amazing start again at this Grand Prix. Our starts are just phenomenal. It's a three-way battle into turn 1. There's a little bit of contact, and we're still side by side. Going into turn 2, it's still a three-way battle for the top spot, for the lead of the race. And I take the lead of the race by a small margin. There was so much contact, everyone was just pushing each other. And we do secure the first spot. But will it last? Am I able to break away from these guys? I need to nail every single lap of this Grand Prix. We have 16 laps to go. The guys around me are on hard tires. Myself and Lando, we have to stop again. We're on mediums and he's on softs. We will have to make another pit stop at some point in this Grand Prix. Now my biggest weakness is this castle section. Like I said, I lose 4-5 tenths in this section, and I just don't know why. Almost hitting the wall there. It is so close. You need to be clinical through there. The fact that I am on the top spot, leading the race, it is good, but I need to figure out what our issue is with the car, because it just was not responding. I felt, again, the first lap on new tires they're amazing, but I just can't keep it up. I couldn't keep up the pace. I end up losing, on the next lap, I end up losing like seconds and seconds and seconds. And Norris is right on my tail. We make no contact there. He was quite close. I'm up into overtake. I have saved all my ERS for this straight because I don't want them to overtake me yet. Now, if battle isn't over, we're still 3 fighting for the win of this race. And to be in this position is quite a feat. Now I'm in a nice little sandwich there, but just look at the speed that they are going at. And I almost made contact with Russell there, but he does now take the lead of the Grand Prix. That means I have lost 2 spots. I don't want to make any contact with Lando. He does make a little bit of a mistake. I have a little bit of oversteer, but I can come back at him. I do get a better exit than he does, and I have DRS. And that means I secure P2. Chasing down Russell, probably won't be able to do this because he is going to be a lot faster than me. He is in the Mercedes. These guys, the Mercedes and Red Bull and the Ferraris, they are currently out of our league, but we will get there. 1.1 seconds already, and Perez is also right there with us. And we're going to see the effect that this castle section has on me. Now 1.3 seconds to Russell. Where does it put me at the end of this? Again, look at that. 1.8, 1.9 seconds. I've lost almost 7/10 just in that sector. I had no confidence. My tires were not responding when I was going through that sector. But it's okay. We're moving on. Perez is also on the hard tire. I don't think he'll have to stop again. I'm hoping that when I do stop, I'm going to go to the soft tires, and this will actually put us on a fresher tire so I can attack more. Let's hope that it's not a repeat of the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. And now we can see Perez overtook me again. I'm not trying to fight these guys. They're currently out of my league. I'm just trying to stay with them. I don't want to cause unnecessary damage to our car, and I also don't want to cause an accident. Now there's a little bit of contact with Norris and Perez, but you can see I also have a massive snap of oversteer. And I do get the DRS on Norris, and I am way past him. And he tries to dive down the inside there. There is a slight bit of contact. Again, these McLarens are fighting and looking at spaces that just are not there. Perez is scampering off into the distance. And who is that? It is Russell. Mr. Saturday is out of the Grand Prix. That promotes us up into P2. But it's lap 18 and I have to pit again. Where are we going to end up at the end of this pit stop? I see there's a few people in the pits, and we are dropped down to 7th. We are now 11th, 12th, and it is looking like another uphill battle. Again, strategy mistakes. I'm going to have to stop making these mistakes if I want to play any role in this Constructors and in this Drivers' Championship, because we are not going to win it like this. But I don't think we'll win it in the first year. We're hoping to maybe secure it in the second year. Yeah. Then lap 19, Carlos Sainz, I was ahead of him, but he is going to overtake me now. It's inevitable, because I didn't have the pace. I was really struggling with these tires. I was struggling with the balance of the car. It didn't feel good, and you can see it in the way I drive. My fastest lap is a 147.2. It's quite slow considering the last 3 races, how I've been doing. And at the end of lap 22, we ended up catching this train because they were in a DRS train. So this actually brought us back into play a little. It meant that we could possibly secure a top 10 finish if we play our cards right, if we do it well enough, and if these guys trip over each other. Now I am on the dive down the inside of Carlos Sainz, and I overtake 2 on track. I overtake Ricciardo and Sainz in this Grand Prix. Now ahead of me is Zhou and Fittipaldi. My teammate is right here. Is he going to hold me up? He better not. His seat could be on the line. Nah, I'm just joking, guys. You know, all friendly battle. But now we have Zhou, Bottas, and Fittipaldi. They're all fighting. We're making it a 4-way battle over here. I go around the outside of 3 cars. I get a better exit than my teammate. Fittipaldi's on the inside. Are we going to be able to come around unscathed? There's a little bit of contact. We could have both ended the race right there if we had made a bigger mistake. But that does secure P13 for us. Wow, and what a breather. This has helped us massively. We are now going on to lap 26, and there's a yellow flag. Caution, what's happened? It's just here. It's Albon and Norris. What has happened there? They've crashed. They've taken each other out. What a turn of events. That puts us up into 11th spot. But the last point position is 5 seconds away. It could have been glorious if we had ended up into the points, but we just couldn't. Ocon is way too far ahead of us. And that is it. That is looking like we have at least secured a P11. We started P10, ended P11, so not too bad, but it could have been better. This car, I wanted to bin this car in this race. I was not having a fun time. It was heavy. This section I was just not nailing. And again, there's some contact. I could have ended my race on the last lap of the Grand Prix, and that would have been an embarrassment. We're definitely going to need to focus on some upgrades, making sure we can make this car more competitive and more stable in these street circuits. I don't think I will be able to handle another race like this. Perez, he wins the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and it was a tough one. But the battle isn't over because Zhou is right on me. He is 1/10 behind me. I've made a couple mistakes, but I am keeping him just behind me. I'm using all my overtake for this last lap. And do we secure at least 11th spots? It's not what we want, but it is what we need. And yes, we do. We secure 11th spot, and there you have it, guys. That is the end of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
They managed to achieve this win.
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves. Let's have a look then at the driver's standings. Max Verstappen,
Not the results we were hoping for, but it's the ones we have to live with. We need to definitely focus on development. We need to make sure we are more clinical, putting in some more hours on the track, and hopefully, you know, in the next few races score some points. We are off to Miami in the next Grand Prix. That is it. That's the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Cheers.